Hey everybody, welcome to the Beecast, the podcast of our Bee Guard project. Long time since last. Busy time, lots of activities and Epimondia Congress in between. So now it's time to make a new podcast, and I hope to make more podcasts in the future with much more regular. Today I'm so lucky that I'm sitting together with Patricia Aldea from Chile. She's member of our multi-actor forum, and we therefore take the opportunity once in a while to interview one of our members of our multi-actor forum. You know that the multi-actor forum is a group of people that are feeling connected to our project or who is curious about our project. They're getting invited to some meetings once in a while where we discuss with them and where we really want to hear people outside the consortiums about their opinions. Some are very active, others are not so active. Anyway, multi-active forum is a very important interaction for us as a consortium. I'm sitting in the car. Actually, over the last 2 days, we have been driving from London over France, under the tunnel, and right now we are in the northern part of Germany, back to Copenhagen, because Patricia has to go back to Chile, actually tomorrow. And now we have been sitting in the car for more than 10 hours or something like that. And then we thought, why not make a podcast about beekeeping in Chile? Very short about what we did is that we decided to go on an expedition, as we call it, to Wales. We were also in Wageningen, we have been in London, and we have been in mid-England, simply to meet people working with Varroa tolerant bees, especially in Wales and mid-England and southern London. We met people that has not been treating the bee colonies for more than 10 to 15 years. Very, very exciting tour. I'm very happy we did it, even that we have been driving a lot of kilometers. Now I have the luck being together with Patricia in the car, and we thought let's make a podcast about beekeeping in Chile. But first, Patricia, please present yourself. What are you doing and where are you from in Chile and what are you doing there?
Hi, hello, Fleming. Thanks for the opportunity to be here in your podcast. Yes, my name is Patricia Aldea. I'm working in Universidad SEC, which is in Santiago. It's a small university from Spain, and we have one in Santiago and other in Ecuador. So it's an international university. And then there I'm working in an institute, make some research about bee pathogens and bee diseases, using new technologies to try to reduce the time to get some result for beekeepers. And we are working together with the sanitary service too, to try to solve some problems in beekeeping area and beekeeping research.
Aha, cool. Just to wrap up on it, why do we know you? Because you were from the beginning a part of our international colors network. So tell me a little bit, how did it start and why did you suddenly turn up at the colors network back in 2000 and
13 maybe? 2030, I think. I'm not sure. Yes, I started to work with bees. I'm veterinarian, right? And I started to work with bees in 2007. And in Chile, people who works on bees are not so common. And when I started, I had this lack of knowledge and experiences and network. So then I saw colors, and I went to an Eurobee Congress and start to be present in colors in the Varroa task force. And then with I think 1 or 2 years later, I joined to BRAP group. And yes, that was my starting point.
we're really happy to have you in our community and it's really great to have contact to Southern America. So that's very nice. But let's go to beekeeping in Chile. Chile is a beautiful country. I had the possibility to be there, I think, 4 times. Tell us a little bit about Chile, Southern America, this very narrow, long country on the west coast of South America, very exotic. Tell us about Chile.
Well, Chile is a small country. Yeah, it's a long country, and bees were introduced in century 19. So they are not native, but they were used for pollination service at the beginning, and then with the time, beekeepers start to be present in a very maybe unprofessional way and hobbyist way. But this time, since maybe 20 years ago, we could see that beekeeping is more professional now, and we have almost 10,000 of maybe 8,000 of beekeepers now, but almost 1,500,000 of colonies. And Chile is the beekeeping activity is not possible in all the country because we have a big desert in the north part. So the activity is concentrated in, close to Santiago, maybe one region to the north, to the southern part. And I have to say, because the climate change, now beekeeping is more easier in the southern part, and bees are moving more and more to the south. So the activity is changing with the time.
And as I understood on you, there's also kind of a lack of education of beekeepers in your countries, and you took up this subject as well, making projects, educating, working together with the beekeepers. But how is it? What is the main subject? Is it honey production? Is it pollination? Is it export of bees, queens? What are the beekeepers actually making a living out of? And is it worth? Is it? I mean, do you earn money on it? That's the very short question.
Okay, first I would like to say that yes, we don't have a university or a school for prepare beekeepers. So usually they are preparing by themselves, small courses, some association do some courses, and we have a system of consultant uh, um, allowed no from the government. So the beekeeper could have some advisors to be better producers. But I could say that they have to learn a huge part by themselves. And then with the time, they are getting more and more professional, taking courses. They use a lot of internet to improve their knowledge. We have some tools about that. For instance, some YouTube channels and radio and other systems to learn. And yes, as researcher in the university, we do some dissemination and some courses, as other universities who has projects related to bees, they do the same to try to reduce the gap of knowledge and to refresh the practice, because beekeeping is changing, because the global warming, because the globalization, because I don't know. And yes, I could say 98% of beekeepers are able to produce honey, but nowadays the amount of honeys that they produce are less than ever. And the price for Chile is not good, so it's not so motivated to produce honey, but everyone try to do something. And because that, they are moving to try to have this multitask system, so some of them start with pollination service during early spring, and then they move to try to get some honey harvest at the late late December or maybe November. And then they prepare the colonies to try to get some queens or nukes, which are selling to outside, like Canada, which is our main market. But this type of production is only done for a small amount of beekeeper, very professional with a lot of hives and resources to do that. So the most common is honey harvest and one of these other pollination service or bee production as material.
Okay, you have to tell us a little bit more about Chile, because what we know as Europeans is the Africanized bees that we have in Brazil. What kind of bees do you have in Chile? Do you have the Africanized bees in Chile?
Not yet, I hope. Yes, our neighborhood, Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina, they have Africanized bees, but luckily we have the mountains to avoid this movement of bees and the desert in the north. So we hope not to have never Africanized bee, and that is very important for us because Canada asks European bees, not with Africanized genes. So we need to protect that for the future, actually.
So the protection of your borders is extremely important for your export. And I need to say that you once told me, Fleming, it's very easy to know when you're driving to the north or to the left, because you just look if are the Andes mountains on the right side or on the left side, and then it's solved in what direction you are actually driving. Climate changes, we need to talk about that. Southern America is rather affected by climate changes, and I know that you did work very nicely in your PhD thesis about the effect on climate changes, or maybe you could say warmer climate, what happens with the bees and so on, and in regard to Varroa mites as well. Could you please elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, Chile is one of the most affected country in Latin America because the climate change, especially when you think in heat waves. So um, early spring, let's say September, October for us. Usually we had rainy days and warm, but not so warm. But since maybe 8 or more years ago, now we have heat waves with 32, 36 degrees in October, and that changed all the blooming process, all the crops even, and the behavior on the honeybees too. So the main problem is when I started, the honey production and the sources of nectar for bees and pollen were able until December. So part of August until December were able to produce and to make grow and stronger your colony. But since these 8 or 10 years ago, that is not possible anymore in the central part of the country. So beekeepers have to move the hives sometimes even in the middle of November or the first or second week in December to the south, just to feed the colonies naturally. And if they decide not to do it because they are not transhumant, then they have to feed the colonies. Otherwise, they will lose all the families. And yes, because that this heat waves, my thesis was about the relationship between Varroa mite present in the bees and the effect of the high temperatures on the physiology in this relationship pathogen and a host. Yeah, for us, very interesting. But I worked in laboratory condition, trying to follow the same change of temperature during these heat waves when the brood is present inside the hive.
Okay, exciting. I think it's very important in the future about the climate changes. It's simply a fact, and we need to act on that. And then the classical question always when we are talking about beekeeping in other countries, what are actually the biggest problems, the, the worst diseases, the worst pests that you're working with?
Always is Varroa mite. You know that? Yeah, Varroa mite came to Chile, or at least was, published in 1992, and we know that where came because some movement of small families from outside, of course. That's mean that was because a movement of beekeepers who move bees. And in Chile, we were not prepared for Varroa mite. Actually, beekeepers took maybe, I don't know, 2 years to understand they have Varroa mites inside their colonies and start to do something. So the first years, 1992, 1993, was very heavy colony losses. And they started to apply apistan at that time, and with very nice results. But with the time now, some beekeepers even they have to use 4 or 5 treatments each year to try to control Varroa mite, and that is awful.
This is really the direction that we are moving in all over Europe. If you're making what I call treatment strategies in your colonies, and actually that's why we were on this little tour in England and in Wales, to meet some beekeepers that have not been treating for more than 15 years in the bee colonies. Again, we will come back to this later on and see if, yeah, it was an exciting tour. We need to make some conclusions on the tour, and we will do it later on anyway. So what's going to happen in the future? What do you think is going to happen with the beekeeping in Chile in the future?
Well, I can see a lot of changes in beekeeping in Chile. Some years ago, when the government decided to prepare the first beekeeping law, which is new for us, as a way to protect honeybees, but to protect beekeepers, actually. We are trying, because everyone is part of this change, trying to make the things better, and that means to try to understand some dynamics in between beekeepers, people from farmers, which is one of our second maybe problem in Chile, because Chile is a farmer country, and it's able to export a lot of fruits and vegetables in general, and that means that the pesticides used in Chile is a problem for bees, native bees, and for beekeeping too. So Varroa mite, pesticide, and the third problem could be the global warming or the global change. And I'm not talking about only weather, it is the change or the loss of forests, for instance. Beekeeping in Chile are dependent of forest. They need our native forest to produce honey, and we are losing because the forests are replaced for pines cultures, or for cities, or now for new crops, or I don't know, poultry. So that is, and the other problem is because the global warming, it is the fire. Every summer we have lots of fire, huge ones, losing a lot of native forest and bees between all that. So I think the main change is the use and the application of this new beekeeping law, which means that some beekeepers need to change the way that they are doing some stuff. Some farmers need to change the way that they are doing a lot of their stuff. And the idea is to have more professional beekeepers. And even for this hobbyist beekeeper, they need to know some minimal, they need to have some minimal knowledge actually to have bees.
Okay, nice to hear that there's a kind of optimism in your country about beekeeping. And also need to say that we had the Apimonte Congress in Santiago de Chile. Is it now 4 years ago? 2 years? I just get the signal 2 years ago. And we had the possibility to go there, and there were some very nice excursions, and we went out and we were visiting beekeepers. And we could see the challenges. We could also see the very exciting types of honeys that you have in your country. So it was a very, very nice trip and a very nice Apimonte Congress. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you at the Eurobee conference next year.
I hope to be there too. I love this Eurobee Congress. It's perfect for me.
Just as a small side information, we have to say every time Patricia is coming to Europe, it's via an airplane, and it's normally 12 hours, 14 hours flying. And this time there was a delay in Madrid of, I don't know, one day, so she had to stay there. So she was rather tired when she came to Denmark. Let's keep in touch, and thanks a lot.